So here we have Michelle, 1L, right? 2 L's. Michelle, Ray, Ashley, and AJ, and we expect a few more people to come still, but they're not here, so they'll have to join or watch this later. Fine. So anyway, I had the best, most amazing time. Back in, I think June, it was June, a woman named Carol Howden. She was a crown diamond in the summer, and now she's a royal crown diamond, so she's advanced now. I don't know if they give her a real diamond or not. Maybe in her pin. I don't know. Anyway, she did a competition, and she said if for everyone who orders a certain, I think it was 300 points, that month between like 1 week time or something. Maybe it was a couple weeks. Was it 250? She said it was 250. Whatever. If 250 points, which is almost the same as $250, it depends what you buy. But most of the time it's the same match, price and points. She said, for who buys this amount, I will put you in a drawing for this harvest experience. Harvest in Canada. So I was like, ooh, I already ordered that month. I don't know. But I went ahead and bought whatever was required. She said $250. Anyway, whatever. I bought it. And then I was gone interpreting on a cruise the next month. Oh. And when I got to land and got signal again, everyone was telling me that I won. So it was super exciting. And I was looking forward to that ever since July. So then it just happened last week. I just got back on Friday. So I'm going to tell you about my experience there. I got to help with harvesting the trees, making the oils, and the whole process. So I'll explain all of that. It was specifically the black spruce oil, yes. So part of the agreement is we had to get ourselves to Vancouver, BC, and then they would fly us the rest of the way from Vancouver, BC, and then fly us back to Vancouver, BC. So we drove with her family, and we stopped in Seattle, and we taught a class, and then we stopped in Vancouver, BC, and taught a class, and then Sunday they dropped me off at the airport, and then I flew to that Fort Nelson. So, this is Vancouver, BC. We had to fly to Prince George and then fly to Fort Nelson. So it's very North BC, like mid-Canada, but North BC. So that's where we went. That's a frozen river. So, very cold, negative degrees. And those are the mountains that were all over, beautiful. And Shelby just arrived. Hello, Shelby. I've done one slide, that's all. Okay. Do we need, is it just Janice or somebody with her? Hello. Oh, okay. Do you mind that's good. You can just move this chair out. That's perfect. You move it over there. Perfect. We're moving some chairs, make space for people. So Janice is here too, and someone else is in the bathroom, and I'll find out who that is in a minute.
Megan and Kim are watching Ashley look.
And I'm going to try to post the PowerPoint because I think for you who are watching at home, it's too small to see the pictures. So I'm going to try to upload the pictures later or the PowerPoint later so you can see what it says. So this is like this tiny airplane. And I was surprised that I was going to be on such a small airplane. But it was a tiny airplane. That just had little, a few rows. I thought it would be bumpy, and it was very smooth. I think because we're lower, we were not so high. It was not bad. I was a little bit nervous about small plane, but it was maybe better than a big plane, I felt like. So it seemed fine. Yeah, I was surprised. I thought it would be, people always say, oh, small plane, so I was afraid, but it was fine. Jenna says she went to Las Vegas and there was a line of people, tons of people waiting for a plane. And when she got to the plane, she saw that this plane was tiny with only like 6 seats, very small. And then there was other big plane with lots of seats. And people were saying they wanted the big plane and other people wanted the small plane. And so people were getting directed to the different planes. And Janice got on the big plane, but there were other people on the small plane who were complaining, and they wanted to join our big plane. And, they were gesturing enough that she could understand, even though she couldn't hear them. So she went and she offered to switch seats with them, and so she got to ride on the small plane, and she was excited about that. So, yay. Hello. Adrian. Perfect. Nice to meet you. I'm Andrea. Nice to meet you. Hello. Welcome. There's, yep. Perfect. Okay, so we arrived, this is when we arrived in Fort Nelson, and the sun was going down. It was only like 4:30 or 5 o'clock, but it was North BC, so it's not as much daytime as here. And then that was their tiny airport. There wasn't even, they didn't have security or, x-ray or metal detector or nothing. We just went through onto the plane. So, anyway, that. So we arrived at our beautiful cabin. It was all wood cabin. Inside there was a loft. The bedrooms all had bunks in the rooms. So my room had 3 sets, and there were, I think, 4 of us were in that room. And then other rooms were 2 or 3, whatever. So Carol had selected 13 people to come. So Carol has a group of 55,000 members under her. But she had a contest, so we had to buy a certain amount. So we think maybe 1,000, 2,000 people were in the drawing maybe, but we don't know exactly. So they picked 13 of us, and also Carol and her husband, and one of the corporate Young Living guys from Canada joined our group. The groups are allowed to have about 16 to 20 people in the group. So our group was 16. But one person actually didn't have the right documentation, so got stuck in Seattle and couldn't cross into Canada. So we lost one person. It was very sad. And that one is looking down from the loft into the kitchen. That's just a night picture. That's Carol Howden, the person who selected us, who has a huge Royal Crown Diamond organization, Royal Crown Diamond. She's been a member and a business person for about 18 years. So a long time, yeah. And so she was welcoming us when we came in.
Great. That's good.
So the next day, in the morning, we went to where they make the oils. It's called distillery. So they taught us a little bit about the farm history, how to be safe while we were working there, and just a little bit of explanation, like tour of the building. So, and we have this cool bus. I don't know if you can see, but it says Young Living on the front. And then there's spruce trees on the side. So it's cool design for us. Oh, I need my daughter's thing.
The good thing in the winter is we see them a lot more because we have a lot more dark. Right? They happen in the daytime and
Maybe we need the... It might be in my bathroom. It might be in Alani's bedroom. I'm going to get the speaker because we can't hear this. And then the people who are watching online can hear this presentation too. But he's talking about the northern lights and how it affects the trees and everything. The northern lights, yeah.
this is the crown of earth. So this is my definition.
Have, yeah. Is it northern lights is the same thing as aurora borealis? Have any of you seen the northern lights before?
No, never.
Never? Juan, you've seen the northern lights? Did you see the northern lights before? Yeah. So Adrienne said she also already has seen the lights in Canada as well with her family. So it's interesting. Some people, when they are around the lights, they feel an energy. The lights do move the energy or something. Some people feel like it's spiritual. Some people feel like just some kind of like all over their body. So that energy also affects the trees. And they notice that when the lights are out, when they harvest the trees after that, they get more oil out and better quality oil out of the trees too. So there's something fascinating about that. There were no lights when I was there. And I've seen the lights before when I was on a cruise in Alaska, but I didn't see them this trip. We were all hoping, but it didn't happen. Okay, let's see here. I think I have to link. Hold on. I'm hoping the sound will work, but it doesn't seem like
They
it's
happen in
working.
the daytime and in the night. Right? They don't only happen. They happen all the time.
It says,
So the good thing in the winter is we see them a lot more because we have a lot more darkness. Right? So there's some, let me show you something. So I took some pictures and saved them because they're my favorite photos of the northern lights. So this is the crown of earth. So this is my definition of the northern lights. It's the crown of earth. Okay? It's the king's crown, and inside the crown houses all the world's treasures. Okay? The So when we're here, we can look to the south and see the northern lights, but that's why. Right? Because they don't cover the whole sky. They can, like lightning. Right? But this is a very predominant way the northern lights happen. They dance around around Earth. Right? Around the north. So what's cool about that is we're inside the crown. Right? Which is a special place, special planets, special energy, special life. It's changed my life. I have a horrible time living here. My family keeps coming into it. Right? So, here's what's neat. The northern lights can look very plain to the human eye and look very exciting on a camera. You know why that is? Because our eyes are conditioned for light. Okay? You can see 10,000 to 30,000 times more color in the dark when your eyes are conditioned to dark. So, what does that mean? If you want to maximize your experience with northern lights, shut your phones off. Shut your lights off. Stand outside and look at the darkness for 15 to 20 minutes and look back at it and watch what you see. Your eyes can see more than the camera if you let them. We live in a world of light. We never look at black. Black, the color we see isn't black. Right? It's the color. Blackness happens here. And those lights, when they come out, look something special. So, I tell people, if you want to maximize your experience, spend some time conditioning your eyes. Right? Look away from all light. And just look at the darkness and let it consume you, let it fill your eyes. When you look at the lights after that, or even the stars at night, you're going to see a completely different Milky Way, a completely different sky. And can you imagine 10,000 times more color? Right? It's incredible. And so that's you can Google some of this stuff. It's very simple. I am very Google smart. My grade 3.5. But the reality is that I've experienced it, and I can tell you it's different. A lot of times we want to capture it with our phones. We can have the memories, and that's completely fine. You as a group, when the northern lights come out and that experience is offered to you, I think as a group you guys could say, let's spend some time before or after with our cameras, and then let's take our eye cameras on a journey. Right? The ones that were put into us permanently. And you'll have an experience that will be much deeper.
So that's just his experience. So this man's name is Corey, and he is Carol's son. So Carol's the woman who selected me and has this huge organization in Young Living. Her husband used to be a contractor, building, whatever. And their sons also are builders. So when really Gary, who owns Young Living, decided he wanted to buy a farm that they could harvest the black spruce, he contacted a few cities in Canada, and this city, Fort Nelson, was the most interested. They used to be very high in like gas and oil, not EO, but oil, real black oil. And then all of those companies have closed down. So now the people there have shrunk, and they don't have a good way to make money. So they said, come tell us about your idea. And then Gary talked with Carol, her husband, because they live in Canada, said, help me find contractors, help me this process. So they worked together, and Corey was one of the people who built the farm and built the distillery. And I think most or all the people who still work there also were part of the construction part. And they just fell in love with the company, and they fell in love with the oils. and the goal of making pure oils and making them the best. Ray has a question. So are all the oils from Canada or some of the oils from Canada? We have farms around the world, different places. If a certain plant grows best in Canada, we get oil from there. If it grows best in France, we get our oil from there. And we have some of our own farms, and we also have partner farms, both. So right now that farm only, these are Young Living products. They're under the same company, Young Living products. No. Just right now, this Northern Lights Black Spruce is the main one from Canada. We get a few other things from Canada too. Leadham. I don't know all the Canada oils, but that farm where I went only makes this right now, Black Spruce. That's all. And this summer, they're gonna try to plant some other things, but I'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah. So this was way back in, I think, 85 when Gary first started to distill oils from his farms. 1985. He that was his first cooker or distiller, and so it's in this farm building now. They used it when they were first starting, before everything was set up, but it's still there now.
85.
1985. The year. So so that was where we came in as volunteers, and they gave us our PPE, our vests and our hats and our goggles and all of that. Yeah, gloves for one part of the process. We had to have gloves too. And some of my pictures I couldn't get to upload, so sorry it's blank. But anyway, so that afternoon, morning, we went to the building and looked and learned about safety and all that. Afternoon, after lunch, we went to where they were harvesting. So the big trees, they use a big machine to cut down the trees. But if they use that machine on the small trees, it would just crumble and be worthless. So they couldn't cut down the small, cute trees. And sometimes when they cut the big ones, the limbs would fall off and be left. Last year was the first year they had volunteers come and help with harvest. They found out when they cooked the materials from that group, they got more oil. So they found that the small pieces, the branches, the green that fell, or the small trees that we cut down, that those have more oil in them because they're babies and they're trying to protect during the winter time. So they hold a lot of oil in the trunk of the small ones or in the limbs. The big trees, the trunk doesn't need a lot of oil to protect it. So some of the limbs have oil to protect the new growth. But what they found last year is that they get a lot more oil from the same, if they had the fresh stuff that the volunteers could collect. So that it's positive. It's a good thing. Then we go, yeah, last year they found out. So now they tell all of us. And also they believe that some of it's because the volunteers who come are adding love to the process too. And that makes the oil better and more plentiful. So You'll see some pictures. We blessed our oils a few times. Anyway, so that it's simple process. They have this machine makes chips, so they just chip it and they put it into the semi's not there right now, but they into a semi truck, and then they bring it to the building and they unload it, and then I'll show you more. Oh, so in that area, that's black spruce is like a weed. It grows all over, and no one wants it.
My favorite tree. Blue spruce. Black.
So blue spruce, where it's warmer, is a beautiful tree. These black spruce aren't really pretty. There's just so many, and people can't do anything with their land. So now that the big oil drilling companies are gone and there's no work, people want to grow farm or cattle or whatever, but they can't because there's these trees all over. And so these people who are now already poor have to pay someone $70,000 to come and clear the trees from their land. But when we moved our farm to town, we pay that farmer, or that person who isn't a farmer yet, we pay that person $70,000 so we can buy their trees from them. And then they can change it and become farmers. They have money to invest in farming. So it's like both, we help each other. They want off so they can do something else with their land, try to make money. And they couldn't afford to get rid of the trees before. So now we go and we help them. We take their trees, we pay them, and then we get the oil too. So it's a very cool help to the community.
Of course, here we have a lot of blue spruce.
We have blue spruce. I don't know if I have. The last time I tried to buy blue spruce, it was out, but I'll look and see if I have one. I think I used to. I don't know if I still do. But we have in Idaho, we have a blue spruce farm, and some people go and help with the harvest there too. Yep. Okay. So this is an example.
Here's the Northern Lights.
We use saws. She's using a saw. And that's me. I was picking up all the small stuff. And when we cut stuff down, picking it up, taking it to the snowmobile.
Here's the Northern Lights.
So that's part of what we did.
Here's the Northern Lights.
So those two are both at the same time, and they're at 9:15 in the morning when we arrived, and the moon's out and the sun's coming up at the same time. Half the sky a little bit pink and dark over there, so it was cool to have both.
Cool.
So that I already talked about most of that. So that was me signing. I know it was hard. But I'm trying to hold it and sign at the same time. It was hard. Yeah, and it was cold. I couldn't take off my clothes. But I did. But anyway, so I was just saying that we were going to cut down the trees, and there's more oil inside the small trees. And then we use that. That's all I said. So that day, I feel like it was negative maybe 15 or 20 Fahrenheit.
Oh, cool.
So the other thing they found out is that the trees have the most oil between negative 10 and negative 30 Celsius. So they only have harvest like for 7 or 8 weeks every year, because that's when they can keep the temperature at the right. If they try to cut them down when it's too cold, the tree holds onto the oil and it won't release. If they cut them down when it's too hot, they into the ground before they can cut them. So they have to get just the right temperature when they harvest the oil. So we used, like red handle to get the trees, and we used those saw like you saw, and also shears, and we used those. Those were our tools. We had, I think, 8 or 9 to share, so half of us would whatever, and the other half would gather, and then we took turns. So that was one of our loads. A lot of green, better than if they were big. So that's really good. So that was me with a hatchet. And I don't know. I wasn't very good or skilled at how to do it. So I felt like I hit it and it just go off. And I couldn't get the right to make it. So for a long time before I could break one off. But I finally did. They're different, some small, some different size. Yeah. And some were just big limbs that fell, but we couldn't get the whole thing, so whatever we could find, we cut off, and gather that too. So that was a nice sunset. And then we had a fire to get warm after. We were in the snow probably up to our knees. And for me most of the time I was on my knees, hacking, and then digging, trying to find the bottom. So I could get as much. I had snow boots. They were pretty good, but because it's negative 15 or something, my toes were very cold. Dry, yes, I keep dry fine, but my toes were cold. Second day I tried 2 socks, still cold. And then I had like hand warmers I kept in the bus, so when I was done I could put them in my boots so I could warm my toes faster. But when we had a fire, I could stand near the fire and it warm it faster too. Really, I don't know, because this is someone, like a person who owned it, who asked us to go and help harvest. So I don't know how big their property is. I never asked that. Sorry. And then we have some land with trees on it, but I don't know if we will have to use our land, because people are asking us to go and help with their land. So I don't know how long it will take to get through all the people asking us to help them before. And there's also, we can also harvest in government land too. So there's many options for harvesting for a long time.
Oh, no.
We grab all the different pieces of wood they put them through that machine, and it would suck it in, and then it would come out into the stomach section. And so they fill up, not full, maybe half. They don't want to leave it too long because that wastes the oil too. So about half a day they fill it up until they know the cookies are ready to clear and they need to be filled again. Then they bring more. So.
Right.
So this is the building where, so that's where they drop the chips, and it comes in on that truck. The truck has a system where the floor moves, so it moves and it pulls it, and then it goes back, and then it moves, and so it pulls it, and then it just ends up on the floor. And so we, after it came to the edge, we climbed up and we could ride down like a slide on the wood. And I don't have pictures of that. Someone else was taking pictures and they haven't uploaded them, so I don't have access yet. I'll show you the next. This.
Oh, cool.
So that is us. So they pour in some of the chips, and then we walk to stamp it. Because it looks like a wine process, but if the wood is not packed, they don't get as much oil either, and there's too much steam inside, so we pack it down. And most of the time the employees are two in there, and they stand there and then they dump the wood, and then they stamp it down and they dump more. But for us, we had a ladder, so every time they had to add more, we all climbed out, and then they dumped them in, and then we climbed back in and stomped them. So that was...
Is that you in the middle?
Okay, and then so this was us after one of our stompings. We all got in a circle and made little hearts, whatever. They're all like, "We love you, oil. We love you," and it was just fun and silly, and we had a lot of great time together. Yeah. So that was me right there. So when they fill it up, then they have to close it and they seal it down and lock it. And then they have steam that goes and builds pressure, like a pressure cooker. So the pressure builds, and when there's enough pressure, it starts to steam. Then they have a tube that they hook up to pipes. And then the pipes go through water that cools it down to help the steam become liquid. So when it becomes liquid, then it goes through this machine. It's not really a machine. It doesn't have any moving parts, but the water is heavy, just like when you make salad dressing, right? So on the bottom is the water, and the oil goes to the top. So that's water here, and that's oil. And when there's enough oil, it will fill, and the water will be down below.
Nothing funny.
To the right one. Okay. So that's just us like locking it. Locking it down. And that later when it steams, then that's what they connect to the system. You can push being slow and loud and wide. I wish I could remember. I might be able to watch some of the videos I took and write that down and tell you later. I know it's a big drum. I'll show you a picture, yeah. So, to make this steam, they have to have a boiler room. Have to use a boiler. Now, most of the Canada government regulations for boiler is you have to treat your water with chemicals to run it through a boiler so the boiler doesn't explode or something.
Yeah.
So our company haggled and haggled and haggled with the Canada government to negotiate another way without adding chemicals to our water that we still could use the steam and the boiler. So we found a system that we filter. So these two are filters. I think one is salt and the other one I can't remember if it's like sand or I don't know what the other one is. But they both help to purify the water enough that the government accepted our different natural way of making the steam. Because if we use chemically treated water in our oils aren't pure anymore. They become tainted. So we finally were able to get the government to allow us to do it that way. And they first watched because they were afraid it would blow or something would happen. But they found that it's very strong because we upped our quality. So nothing is becoming weak. Nothing is becoming problem. And so, so we have to have an engineer at all times when the boiler is running. We only have 2 engineers. They're called steam engineers. We only have 2. So if one is sick, the other one has to come or they have to close the plant. So, and really, they both work every day. So someone works like half the day and the other person works the other half of the day. So the whole 8 weeks they're in process, those 2 are on duty the whole time. So it's busy for them. I imagine they do get good pay. And I know that they both were in companies working with steam engineering where they were around chemicals all day. And they're so happy to be here and to have less health problems and to be so much better. And the environment and the people and everything is so much better than their other jobs that they were working. Yes, very strong smell. And I'll show you the smells. I brought some things back, and I'll show you. It smells a little bit different than the oil. Okay. So really all the people who buy from Young Living would love the honor and the experience to go to a farm. It's a huge honor. And to be a part of the process and to see that it really is pure, that it really is amazing, and to experience the process of making the oil is huge honor. We don't expect anything in return. But they did give us, from our trees that we harvested, we got to 1 bottle of oil from we cut it and we stamped it and we made it and everything and we filtered it, and so this oil is what we made. In the plant here at the farm, they only test 1 time. Well, they do 1 test there. If it passes that 1 test for major contaminants, like if one of their trucks leaked on the trees or something, they keep every truckload separate. So if they found that this one had gasoline or something that leaked on the trees, they would throw that one out, and then it wouldn't contaminate all the rest. So they do the 1 test, and if it passes those basic, no big contaminants, then they send it to Utah, and Utah has a big lab, and they test 15 other tests 2 times each. So they go through big, strict process to make sure everything is clean, there's no contaminants, nothing in the oil. But this one has only had the 1 test. So that's why they don't put a fancy label, because they don't want, if there's, we're sure it's fine, but none of the big warnings came up. But, it hasn't been fully tested like the other oil that's in a real sealed bottle. This is when it's done. They've gotten all the oil, then they open it, and then they use a big crane to lift it like it's a magnet, and it lifts it out. And they put chains. They lift it out. I'll show you. Let's see here. That's it. There's a truck here. They'll dump it into the truck. So this is all the wood. So remember, the wood we dumped in, we stamped it down, and then the steam made the oil and went. So now the wood is left, but the oil, most of the oil is gone.
Alright,
so now, yeah, but our goal is not to throw away the trees. We are trying to make a full circle green process. So we are saving them until we can, I think this summer they will be able to start making pellets from that tree. And then they will use those pellets for electricity for their plants. They won't have to get electricity from the city or government or whatever. They'll make their own electricity, and they expect they will make over so they can give electricity back and earn money, because they'll be making enough electricity too. So, and also, so making the water, the steam, the boiler, the lights, the everything, right now they use electricity from electric. to run the building right now. But they've been saving all the wood for 2 years, and this summer they will start to make pellets. So they can burn the pellets, just the wood. Have you seen pellet like stove or like Presto logs for fireplace? Those logs that the wood, almost like that, but they're smaller. But so my pellets I have are little, and theirs will be bigger, industrial size pellets. And then they will burn those to make electricity, so they won't have to get the electricity from the lines anymore. They'll get it from the burning of the wood. And then, it's not really no oil left in that wood. Coal, I guess it's kind of like coal. It's the fire, like a barbecue, kind of, yeah. But it makes electricity because of I don't know if it's the moving or the steam or the heat or which exactly their process of getting the electricity. But anyway, that will make electricity that will run their boiler, will run their lights, everything. And then they will give some electricity back to the government too, so they can earn money from that too. And then they might sell bags of pellets to other places too, depending. So they're going to use all the products and not waste anything. So then it goes through and it goes to that machine and it separates the oil. And then after it separates, there's always a little bit oil left. So we use rubber mallets. They're just like black to pound on this. And the little bit of oil will So it's just a fun process. Yeah, I try to release it all from inside.
Let's suck it up.
What?
Oil would go up.
Yeah, so because oil rises on water, because the water's more heavy, if it breaks loose, and you can see it go to the top. It's very cool. So we would see one, and we'd pound, it'd go, and we'd, I'm excited. It was just really a fun thing. Bye. So after, and maybe you saw my signing about that part, the separating the water, and yeah. So anyway, so then we go to another room, the decanting room, and it was very simple, kitchen things. It wasn't fancy equipment. It wasn't chemical processes, nothing. So just a glass measure, and then they use a strainer, and they put a coffee filter, but it can't be bleached white.
Okay.
Because they, when they did first testing with white, it changed the oils because of the bleach still touched the oils. So they don't use white bleached coffee filters. So this, right? It's probably not good for us to drink coffee from white. Yep, right. Brown better. So anyway, so this was mine when I helped to filter the oil, because there's dust from sawdust that comes through the process. So we use the filter to take off that dust. And so poured, so pass this around, smell it, you can touch it if you want to.
How did they notice that the white got it? White,
they just through the testing, they knew that the white bleach changed what was in the oil.
Oh,
God.
I didn't see that. I mean, it was, yeah, a long time ago. That I did those tests. I have something I will give you to take home later. So this is the guy. This guy, Frank, was awesome, and he explained that process to us. He said sometimes when he's teaching about the oils, he can feel the energy of the people because we're so high excited that he feels like, and he gets like goosebumps and just feels a connection to all the volunteers who come. And he was just a great guy who helped us learn the process. So.
Who was that guy?
His name's Frank. He's one of the guys who works mostly upstairs, but helps with the filtering too. And yeah, he was very like inspired by the process and by the volunteers and everything. He's very cool. So then, even though we separated the water at the first place, some water still gets through a little bit. So we use another, not a machine, a thing that separates the water from the oil. So you turn it a little bit and then the water will go down. You stop it at the right place so only oil is left and the water comes out. So that is going into this. So this is called floral water. It's not from flowers, but it's called floral water just because it's scented from the wood that was in the thing. All this steam and water. So the oil is up above and the water's right here. And so we drain the water. So we have it here. So be careful, don't spill it. I'll pass this around. So that is the water that goes through the system with the wood. And it was interesting. It was interesting. There were people from... Oh, wait. So this is just the water from making the oil. So that our wood that you saw us put in, that wood, it's black spruce. That black spruce, that's the only thing we made this week. Black spruce. So that we separated the water, and so now it's strong smell water. Last year, the volunteers, 3 different groups came from China, and they all left their clothes in the cabin and packed it full of this water. Because in China, it's famous to use floral water that's been through the process of distill, and it's very good, they believe, for their skin and stuff. So I'm going to give all of you some of this, and I'll put it in a spray, and so you can spray it on your face, on your skin. Some used to be in Utah when we made lavender or our other different kinds, we would use the water in hot tubs. But the government said, oh, we're afraid to change the water. No. And they won't let us use in hot tubs anymore. Also, they won't let us dispose of this. We used to put it in a big pond to hold it, and it would filter it down. But the government in Canada is afraid that it's changed the water and that maybe it will hurt the animals or whatever. We're like, it's from the tree that's already in the ground. It's the same. But the government says no. So now we have to put it in big barrels and just leave it and do nothing with it. So they're already starting to negotiate with different markets in China and some other countries where they're already in love with this stuff. And they probably will start to send it and sell it in China and maybe other places too. So that's... No, it was from last year. So this year we were the first group who went this year. But last year the people who worked there were just shocked because people didn't have space for their clothes because they put this instead. So they left many things behind because this is so valuable in China. Who knew? So, that. Oh, also, when I was harvesting, I found part with many cones. So I'll pass those around so you can see. Black spruce. Black spruce cones. Yes. I will explain that whole, yes. Yeah, exactly. I don't know, because black spruce grows north cold, so I don't know if we can grow it here, but I have a friend who is experienced with landscape, and he asked me to bring it home, and he wants to try. So we'll see. But I think it seems from what I learned there, it only grows in cold temperatures. So I doubt it will grow here, but maybe if we put it in the freezer, maybe it will grow. I don't know. Right, son, we'll have to put lights or something. I don't know. I'm just being silly. Yeah, their soil. Yeah, it's good. Yeah. Right. Okay. So that's from a truck, and they keep each truck separate. So if it's contaminated, they know that they only have to throw out 1 or 2 barrels instead of all. I think that's probably a 55-gallon drum, right? Those big ones. So that is almost full. It's from one truck, and I don't know if that's the end or if there's still more cooking that will be added to that or not, but that's the oil, just oil, already filtered, already water off, only pure oil, that's it left. And that's just showing us draining the water. And then you can see there's still the dust inside right here.
That's any of the dust of tree fibers that have carried through with the steam. So that's pretty much the reason why we're putting it through the coffee filters, is to get
and then
anything
you
like
filter
that.
with that filter I passed around, and that takes off the dust.
Thank you, Kevin.
And then they test it. One time they test it. This day, let me see here. Okay. Will he explain the process of testing the oil? He said sometimes the test will show something, it doesn't match that kind of oil. So if it shows something different, he has to check, is it the machine's fault or is it the oil's fault? If something happened, figure out what, identify it. He said last night from that, he didn't turn off the machine the right order, so there was a little something left in the line, so it caused a little bit something that wasn't expected. So he did the test a second time and it was clear. So he knew it was because he didn't turn off the process right. He just shut it off quickly, and so the second test was fine. So this shows it was like flat, and then those others are what they expect to see, high numbers, and I can't remember. One is, I wrote it on something, but one is like limonene, and another, there's different chemistry in the oils that's natural, and they expect to see. And if there's something else, they know maybe it was gas or maybe it was something. Most time if it's little, it's because something's in the test machine. but sometimes it's something else. So they have to learn to identify what the different things are. So he, on purpose, tested some oil that he added gasoline. He added antifreeze, so he'd know what that would look like if it came up on the test. So he knows where that's wrong. So he's done some tests on purpose that were dirty, so he knows what to look for when it happens by accident. But they haven't ever in 3 years had any.
Wow.
And this farm is new, just like 3 years old. So they've never had any contaminants come up from their machines or anything.
That's cool.
And then it gets sent to Utah where they do 15 different tests, 2 times each. And then all the crates that they kept separate by each truck, then they mix them all together, and then they bottle them, and they send them. So I'll let you smell. I'll send these both together so you can smell the bottled one and the brand new one. So every time our oil is opened, some of the molecules evaporate and come out. Every time we smell it, it's because it's leaking molecules. So this has a little different smell than this one. So smell those two.
Could you have taken more in this one?
I might have been able to get more of those filters, but everyone took some.
Oh, she's
So-
That's right.
Well, those were the 2 that I used when I filtered. I took my filters from my process, and I brought a baggie, and most people didn't bring baggies, so I was lucky that I had something to put them in. So there was one big bag that, and I don't know, people took them, so I don't know how they got them home, because I bring bags every time I go on vacation.
I love you.
Even if you put it in like
So this was where that bottle I put here, I push on a level, and it sends out exactly 15 milliliters. And then here, locks the seal on it. That you can see I'm awkward with the machine because the top of mine is like a little bit.
Yeah.
So, of course, they're good with their machine and they don't ruin the lid like mine is.
This one said 1994.
94 is when the company opened, but 85 was Gary's first farm and the first time he started to test with essential oils before he opened the business. No, that's when the company opened, was 1995. But that oil was probably made last year. Yeah. Because they just started this year's oil process. So I'm sure that oil's from last year. Yeah, it's men sometimes use that like cologne. Yeah, and so you were asking me before what it's for. Have you heard of frankincense?
Yeah.
So they say, frankincense grows near the equator of the earth, right down here. But this black spruce grows up on the top. But they say it does almost the same thing for benefiting your body. So they call it the frankincense of the north. Black spruce. So it's interesting that God created the earth and had like these things that are supposed to help our bodies in both places, you know? Awesome. So that is Carol, who drew my name. Her son, Corey. Her granddaughter works there too, Jade. This is one of the steam engineer guys. And another one of her sons is the bus driver for just during harvest. So for 8 weeks, that's all. He really lives in Calgary, but he comes just for harvest and drives the people, everything. So it's really family too. It's very strong family business, even though it's under Young Living. Young Living, Gary really honors families and supports them. This guy said he helped with building the plant and everything, and he was supposed to hand over the responsibility to someone else, and Gary would hire someone and send them to work with him, and he would say, "They're idiots. No, I won't let them take over my plant." So kept again and again, several times, he didn't accept the person who maybe would take over the plant. So Gary said, maybe you're the problem, but really he loves the process. He loves the oils. He wants it done exactly right for all of us, for the customers, for the plants, for everything. And the other people just business money. And he wouldn't, so he won't give it up. So he's been staying. And he has lots of big ideas and dreams for the farm. Government is not related to the government. So his philosophy, though, is to teach everyone who works there to be able to share. So someone else could take over in his place who already works there, but not from outside. That. So that guy, I showed you, his goal is to make full green circle. So everything uses itself. So the chips I mentioned already will be used for pellets, and the water will be sent for people to use for their skin and their bodies. They're also, last summer they cleared a whole pasture, and they're going to plant yarrow, lidum, goldenrod, and chamomile. So those 4 they're going to plant, and hopefully it's going to be successful. They're supposed to be good growth in that climate. So if they grow well, then they will add more things that they can harvest and distill than just 8 weeks during the year. So they're hoping they'll have something in the summer they can add. So they have big plans for that farm. It's very cool.
When try to grow the black.
I might try. That's one reason I brought the cones home. I want to see what happens, but I doubt they will grow like up there, because part of why it's beautiful is because of the northern lights. There's no northern lights here, and other things too.
I
So.
don't think so.
You're talking about because I have one acre. I can do it with a chip farm. So Carol taught us a bunch of different things. Really, she focused on our inside growth, like on our personal development. She talked about personal positive affirmations to yourself. We had to say positive things about each other the whole week, and it was just an amazing process. It was like counseling. It was like group counseling. I cried many nights. Anyway, so this was just a cute little, like, they have souvenirs that they sell, but they happen to sell black spruce in their shop too. So that was cool. Then another morning, she taught us raindrop technique. This is the kit. So I'll just pass that around. I'll wait till you pass around the paper. Feet and back. It's a way to apply oils. So this shows the basics of how to do that technique. The raindrop, it helps with releasing energy that's stuck in your body. It helps with getting toxins out of your body. It helps with emotional stability, and it's just an amazing process. So this isn't like massage. It's the process is it's a way to apply the oils, but it's not technically massage. It's not muscle deep. It's more, it stimulates your nerves, and it stimulates your skin and your cells and your lymph nodes to take in the oils and to release and clean out your body. So anyway, so that's just kind of what this is about. And that day it was only -8. It was better than the other days.
What is going on?
One afternoon we played on snowmobiles
I'm
in that field that they cleared ready for the summer for planting. We on snowmobiles. It was fun. And then we went north, like 3, 4, 5 hour drive in the bus on the snow, and they just drive like it's normal. I don't know how, but drove to hot springs. So the hot springs were amazing, and we stayed in the water for maybe 2 hours, talking, playing, having fun, and just helping our body to detox, and it was awesome. So that's just what we saw. Beautiful snow everywhere. Right? Yeah. Well, maybe someday I will get big enough that I can bring a deaf group. I hope so. Yeah, hot spring water. Well, close where the water comes out, hot. Like you can't get close to where the source is, but it's a river. So if you go farther, cool. So you can pick where you're comfortable. If you're close, it's hot, and then farther away, it's cooler. So, but see, just the cold outside, my eyelashes. My eyelashes were ice. Yeah. And that was a little more cooler. They said that if I kept going around the bend, there were beautiful trees that went like this, and you go under them. But it was too cold for me. I wanted to stay in the hot, so I wouldn't. So I don't have those pictures. I can't wait. Other people will post the pictures, and I'll see, oh, beautiful. So that. So someone shook the tree or threw something at the tree, so the snow on all the people. I'll let you watch it again. They're awesome. And I'm way over here taking pictures.
Cool.
It was just beautiful, like beautiful. It's so amazing. And then through the tree. And then Friday we packed up and left. This guy's name is Chance. He right now is temporary in charge of the Canada Young Living Everything operations. He's like an everyday person. He doesn't seem like a corporate person at all. Amazing, wonderful time with that guy. And that's Ben and Carol. And then that was our group, all of us who, for 1 week together, got to know each other. We all a little bit different personalities, but still the same, I mean, all different. amazing. This lady had a professional camera and she did a lot of really good professional shots, so I can't wait to see those. She's going to share them with us later. This lady lives in Tigard, so hopefully I'll get to see her more. Yeah, and about half and half. We had half from Canada. There were maybe 4 from California, 4 from Oregon. I was the only one from Washington. The one who couldn't go was from Florida, and she got stuck in Seattle. So she flew to Seattle, and she got stuck there, and she had to fly back home to Florida. So that was sad. So in November, so let me back up. In June, they have international convention in Utah, but Canada is having a convention in Vancouver, BC, November 1st through 4th or something. So I'm hoping to go to that so I can meet all my friends that I met there in Canada too. So if you want to go to Canada with me or go to Utah with me, let me know. Oh yeah, we have, Young Living has different offices in Canada, in China, well, is it China? Hong Kong, I don't know if they're a little bit different, right? Hong Kong, right? That's right, fine. And many places we have offices. Some, like, yeah, we have members all over the world. Like Korea, people become member in Korea, but they don't have an office. So they're not supposed to sell it and spread it, but they still do a little bit. But it's just a different process because they're not officially opened as an office sanctioned by the government in Korea. So each place is different rules and government and whatever, but we have people in almost every country. Sorry. Oh, is it upside down? Let's see. Is that upside down? Is that better? Okay, sorry people. My laptop and phone just crashed to the ground, so I lost you for a minute. Okay. Let me think what else. So I'm going to make that. I already showed you the oils. Oh, I wanted to tell you too, if you don't know, the new kits are going to be changing a little bit. So right now in the kit we have RC, and it's going to be changing to Raven. Still good for breathing, for asthma, for opening your respiratory. They're almost the same for what they can do for your body. This one everyone knows about because it's in the kit, so it runs out and they can't keep it. So now they're going to switch with this. Maybe we'll get half and half so we won't run out of anything. So Raven. So our kit, you know, the kit used to have RC, and later they're now in the transition, and then my recent kit got this still, but anytime we could start to get Raven instead. The other one, okay, so Purification is another one that runs out a lot. It's good for getting rid of smells, fish cooking or animal dog smell, wet dog smell, whatever, carpet smell, yeah, pee, whatever, purification. But so now it's going to switch with, right now that's diffused.
Kill the man out. Don't just stop you.
You can. You can. There's many ways you can use the oils. And I can explain that a little bit later. Okay, so Citrus Fresh is the replacement from now on. So Citrus Fresh is good for smells, but it's also good for mood and many other things too. So that's going to switch. And then you've been having these. They're going to stop. These instead, they're going to put like a bag, almost like this. These will still 2 in your box, but there will be 1 of this in a bag. Like, it will look like, you know, it will be that label on a bag. And it will be the cleaner. And then you can mix it with water at home, have a sample of the cleaner. So that should up people's interest to buy more of this. Because everyone experiences that once and they fall in love with it always. So I think that is what I wanted to talk about today. If you have any questions about anything, let me know. Want to smell one? Black pepper. Black pepper. I have it. I think. I have it somewhere. I will find it. Yeah. I packed it to bring to Canada because someone told me it would warm my feet, and then I forgot. I never used it. So I hope I can find it easily. I think I can. Okay. Thanks everyone for watching. You're the best. Love you all. Text me if you have any questions. See you later. Bye.